What's up? What's up? I got an awesome show for you guys. It's we're covering Paul Hellyer today, the Defense Minister of Canada, one of the longest, if not the longest serving Defense Minister of Canada, who came out later in life and reported on the UFO phenomenon. And he became, at first he was a skeptic. He didn't think any of it was true, and he actually read the book the day after Roswell. And the fact that he knew all the people that Philip Corso was speaking on. Philip Corso was the man that wrote The Day After Roswell, and it resonated with Paul Hellyer. You know, he knew these people that Philip was talking about, and so he started doing his own investigating, talking to a general that he didn't name. And the general told him that all of it was true and more, which was pretty mind-blowing, because The Day After Roswell is a paradigm-shifting, mind-blowing book. I'm like, wow, dude. You know, Philip Corso saw an alien body. You know what I mean? So it pretty much, that person telling Paul Hellyer that it was true, was a good friend of his. He trusted his judgment. And boom, he started investigating and researching, and it came out. He found out that cold fusion and free energy was a thing. Came to find out that the U.S. government had agreements with these non-human entities, and to allow them to abduct humans and perform cattle mutilations and whatnot, and all these scientific experiments. And in exchange for technology, you know, that they could use to make weapons, or in also, like, you know, this camera that you're watching me on, this computer, you know, the integrated circuit chip, you know, Kevlar, night vision, stealth technology. All this came from reverse engineered craft technology that was given to us from extraterrestrials. And Paul Hellyer is a very interesting case. And I want you to watch this clip. And then I'm going to come back. We're going to talk about it. And we're going to talk about some other cases too, like Bentwaters in UK with Colonel Halt, where they had contact with a triangular craft in the woods, and they suffered radiation injuries, and one of them had to download information, and it's all very interesting. So keep watching. Check out this clip. Listen, Paul Hellyer's an older gentleman, so he talks a little bit slow. It takes him a while to get to the point. Stick with me, because it's an explosive ending. And let's check out Paul Hellyer.
Looking for another book and couldn't find it. And lo and behold, staring me in the face from the bookcase was The Day After Roswell. So I grabbed it and took it. I started to read it, and my nephew came along. I said, "What are you reading?" I said, The Day After Roswell. And he said, "Well, I'm a skeptic." I said, "Well, you're entitled to be a skeptic. It's still a free country, more or less, getting less all the time." And so I finished the book, and I said to myself, this is not fiction, because I recognize the names of many of the generals and the airports that were named in the book. I said, these are real people, and I know about them from my days in national defense. And my nephew had gone home, and he phoned me and said, I phoned the general and told him what you were reading, and he said, every word is true and more. Where can I get a copy of the book? So I told him. And in the meantime, and just total coincidence or serendipity, but I think, frankly, the way I believe, I think it was more than that. I had received this invitation to speak at an extraterrestrial conference in Toronto, at the University of Toronto, in September of 2005. And I had absolutely no intention of accepting the invitation. I'll have to admit, I was procrastinating. I just didn't get around to it. I thought I was too busy to take the time out to get in touch with the two people, Victor Vigiani and Mike Bird, who were sponsoring it. and let them know that I wouldn't be able to accept. So it just happened that invitation was still outstanding, and after reading the book, I said, I think maybe I should go to that conference because the issues involved here are so big, huge. The American people are paying hundreds of billions of dollars for programs that they don't know anything about. And things are happening in their country that they don't know anything about. And they should know because the United States forces, and the Air Force, I guess, is in particular, sort of operate with a shoot first and ask questions after mentality. And I said, heaven knows what they could get us into. You know, if they start shooting at these things, they could get us in an intergalactic war, and that would be probably game over for us. So I was concerned, and I thought, I have a responsibility as someone who has had a job of some authority to say unequivocally what I believe. My nephew said, give me the general's telephone number, give him a heads up that I'll be calling. Because I thought I should check with him personally and hear his voice and what he had to say. And I had met him, so I knew who it was, and so I phoned him, and before I could even say, hello, how are you, what's the weather like, he said, every word is true and more. Those were his opening words. And he spent 20 minutes telling me the and more, within the limit of his oath. I guess it went as far as he could. And he said, and this was the most important thing he said during that period, was that there have been face-to-face meetings between United States officials and visitors from other star systems, period. No equivocation. And so with that assurance, and my own conviction based on what I already knew, I said, I'll go to the meeting. And at the meeting I said that UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying overhead. And that was it. After that, just the information that kept rolling in from all over the world, books and documents, some classified, some not, and so on. A lot of things happened, which you're well aware.
Now, what would you point at as the best evidence to the people in the media that say there is no credible evidence that exists to support the existence of UFOs? Is there one particular thing that really jumps out at you that you would point out to?
Well, there are so many, actually. As of today, if somebody just wanted to read one book to find out what the score is, it would be a book called Undisclosed by Dr. Stephen Greer, MD, who is one of the best ufologists in the world and has been in this business for years and years and years. And the reason is because he quotes people verbatim. He quotes people who have seen them, people who have been working on airships to replicate the visiting airships, people who have been working in what we call the black ops, the special projects, as they call them, but they're referred to as black ops because only a few people have any idea of what they're all about. And he has been very thorough in pointing out a lot of things that nobody else has really put their finger on and substantiated them with firsthand evidence. Now, interestingly enough, Dr. Greer was the first person to brief me after I went public. He was visiting Toronto and I guess to make a speech, and so we had lunch on the waterfront, and he briefed me for 3 hours and told me some of the things that he did, including briefing future presidents to develop both zero-point energy and cold fusion. Right. And either one of these, or both, could be used to change the world.
So what do you think? Like, what do you think of that? It's crazy, right? Is it true? I mean, how long have we had free energy, cold fusion? How long has this been going on where they've been keeping this under wraps because of the, the big corporations, the big giant conglomerate, fossil fuel industry? They don't want to step on toes. And if we had access to free energy, like, dude, not only like vehicles and oil-based products, but we're talking like natural gas, electricity. We're talking about the whole gamut of these gigantic energy companies that would, who knows? I don't know if they would collapse, or what would happen. And it would threaten our entire economy if you think about it, right? So if they release this free energy, and it's free energy, right? There'd be no need for people to pay their bills. There'd be no need for any of that. What would it do to our economy? It would become that much easier to transport goods, and the natural resources would be less of a. There wouldn't even be a need for these conflicts that are going on. These beefs over. Not only superconductors, but lithium-ion batteries, lithium mines and whatnot. And there'd be no need to be tearing up the earth like we are. And I tend to believe this guy. I mean, he was the Defense Minister of Canada, for God's sake. You know what I mean? Like, and that goes into like I am a shed from Israel, like the things that he said. And Hellyer said the same thing. Paul Hellyer said that we had an agreement with the extraterrestrials. That they were allowed to abduct humans, but they had to provide the government, or whoever the agreement was with inside the government, had to provide them with a list of the people they were abducting, and they had to put them back unharmed. But they could do it, do the tests. And they were allowed to do these cattle mutilations. And if any of you have investigated that, Linda Moulton Howe, she's a great researcher. She investigated the cattle mutilations back in the 70s, man. She was like a pioneer of this thing. She has been a pioneer to the UFO community since the beginning. Now, does she do some outlandish, extreme coverage of it? Yes, she does. She covers some wild stuff now. But it's starting to appear that, as crazy and wild as it is, like, look, this is the crazy thing, right? So things 20 years ago that I looked at and was like, wow, that's crazy. There's no way that's true. This is BS. It's conspiracy theory. And then boom, now those things that I thought were crazy and wild and there was no possibility of it being true, now it's true. The thing came out. Just look at the island, where the young people were taken, in the list that still hasn't been released, where ex-presidents were on this dude's plane 28 times. Bill Gates, he got his wife divorced him because of that. Because he was hanging out with this nut job. And then, the whole, it's just, I'm not even going to get into it anymore because that's not my topic. But what I'm saying is that these crazy conspiratorial theories that we were hearing years ago, nowadays, all of a sudden, it's not so crazy anymore. That's the only point I'm making. So, is it too far of a stretch to say that there was an agreement between a faction of our government and extraterrestrials? It's hard to say. That's just Paul Hellyer. But I just want to break down a list, right? A list of guys, older gentlemen, that came out in their later years in life and said, look, this is true. This happened. This is what's going on. This is the nature of the thing. Our government's been hiding it. They've been destroying evidence. They've been trying to keep this thing under wraps. And so, Philip Corso, that's number one. I did the episode on him a couple days ago. Paul Hellyer, that's today's episode. Chaim Ashed, I spoke about him in previous episodes. He was the director of the space, like the Israeli version of the Space Force, Defense Space Force. Chaim Ashed. He said we had agreements with extraterrestrials, man. The United States. Senator Harry Reid, before he died, all you gotta do is go watch James Fox movie The Phenomenon. Harry Reid, he breaks it down in that movie. He just spills the beans, right? Or as they say nowadays, spilt the tea. Jesse Marcel, he was one of the first people in the military that was at the crash of Roswell, and he admitted that they gave him some sticks and tinfoil to pose in front of the camera with, to throw off the people, because they had already released a press release that they had captured a flying saucer, and then they retracted that, right? And then boom, so they had to come up with something to tell the people, because they had already did this press release saying it was a saucer. So what they do, they had Jesse Marcel pose with tinfoil and sticks. Man, you can't make this shit up, man. Hey Jesse, yeah, just pose. Hey, here, take this tinfoil and these sticks, and they weren't even like, it wasn't even like realistic looking. It was just tinfoil and sticks, man. And supposedly this was what crashed. Like we're idiots, like we're stupid or something. Like, what was up? Was people back then like slow? Like nobody, it's just. And obviously they weren't slow, because it came out. People kept pressing. You know what I mean? Wow, man. Mack Brazel, right? So he was like a rancher and stuff down there. He came out later on. He was involved with Roswell. And Colonel Holt, something. Colonel Holt, yeah, that's it. Anyway, he was involved. He was involved with the Bentwaters UK contact event. And if any of you are familiar with that, it's a great case, man. Like, awesome case. So Bentwaters it's a military base in the UK, and so some people suspect that we had nukes there. I don't know. I don't know about that. It's possible, probably did. But so they had got a report that there was lights in the forest right outside the base, and what appeared to be like something, descending from the sky, right? So they send out like a team of 4 or 5 guys, and Colonel Holt and a few of his fellow soldiers went out, and they discovered this triangular craft in the woods that was blinking all these lights and stuff. And as they got close to it, it shot a spotlight down on the ground, and then like as they got closer, it lowered to the ground and had like hieroglyphics on it, like Egyptian hieroglyphs on it, but it wasn't Egyptian, but it appeared to be that way. It was just strange writing on the craft, right? And so he's like recording the thing as it's happening. Like, you can go research this. Very interesting case. And one of them, I don't know if it was Holt or the other guy, but one of them touched the craft, right? And they got injury. They got injuries from this thing because they got exposed to radiation from it. But the guy that touched it, he got like a download. Like he was seeing all these like images in his head, and later that night after the episode was over, I'm not, they didn't try to capture the craft. I'm not sure what happened. I think they just went back to the base. But later that night, the guy that had touched the craft, or maybe it was a couple days later, he woke up in the middle of the night and he just started writing down all these ones and zeros. And he didn't really know why he did it, but he did like page after page after page after page. And I don't think he was like a computer engineer or scientist, or like even knew much about computer technology. But he was writing binary code, and whenever they translated the binary code, it was saying that this craft was like from the future. and that they came back here from the future. That's what this craft came from. So it's a very interesting case. There's been people that tried to debunk it. There's always that, and it's coming out like, you know, Mick West was on. He was on American Alchemy recently, and they asked him, like, who's paying you? He's like, I can't disclose that, and he's like you know, renowned, he's a known, like, this is what he does. He just debunks UFO cases. Oh, it's a bird, it's a balloon, it's a drone. You know what I mean? It's a mylar balloon reflecting the sun, like, just crazy. It's parallax. It's not really going that fast. It's parallax. It's the It's so funny, dude. Like, these people, man, they really think we're dumb, dude. Like, they think. The next guy on the list is J. Allen Hynek. Yes, he was the guy from Blue Book, and he was one of the paid debunkers. It's funny that his name is next on the list because he was a paid debunker, man. So Blue Book was established not to figure out what the UFO phenomenon was. It was established to debunk it. And J. Allen Hynek was the spearhead of that. And he was famous for, in Michigan, there was this mass UFO sighting, and all these people in the town saw this UFO, and this guy had the nerve to tell these people that it was swamp gas. And man, were people mad, dude? They were pissed. I swear, I think they would have got him, man. If you. So after J. Allen Hynek, you had Robert Emmenegger, and Robert Emmenegger was apparently he did like a documentary, and the government was going to release a footage to him of a UFO landing at an Air Force base and interacting with the military. And at the last minute, they told him, "No, we're not going to release that to you." So you can research him, Robert Emmenegger. And then you had Johnny Mack. And Johnny Mack, he was from Harvard guy, and psychiatrist, psychoanalyst, and all that, hypnotherapist, yada, yada, yada. And what he did was he would regress people that, hypnotically regress people that had contact with NHI, non-human intelligences. And at first, he was a skeptic. He didn't believe none of it. But he just did the research, and he just followed where the evidence took him. And not too long after, he was a believer, man. He came out and he said, something's going on. All these people, all their stories are lining up. The details of the stories are all coming out the same, and these people don't know each other. You know what I mean? There's no way, like, And so he became a believer. He knew something was happening. And so he ended up getting ran over by a car. I think it was 2015 or something. And a lot of people said it was suspicious, how that happened. You know what I mean? And it's funny how a lot of these guys who come out and say, that this is real, and they start looking under rocks and turning over every stone, and they start stepping on people's toes. And a lot of them don't make it. You know what I mean? Stephen Greer said so many people on his team have died, unaliving themselves in some cases, freak accidents, whatnot. And it's strange how that happens. And there's many more. That's just a small sampling of the men that are out there that are speaking out about this, that have spoken out about this, before they passed on. And it's just very interesting, and I just, I wanted to just put this out there for everybody, research these cases for yourself. Look, educate yourself on the phenomenon, you know what I mean? This way, deep down. Yeah, look, you don't have to believe me, you can go look for yourself. And the evidence is out there, you know what I mean? And with that, I'm going to end with this last little bit of footage. It's classified, or was classified, Russian footage of UAPs exiting and entering the ocean. And I think you're going to find it very entertaining. Thanks for watching. If you like the show, please hit the like and subscribe. This is John C. the Truth.
Captured on military equipment or some type of Navy jet. Now there are some parts that have So apparently like 20 images of UFOs got leaked on Reddit. They're allegedly from a government program that's studying them. Now look at this one picture of this UFO. This one freaks me out. I don't even think we have that technology or it exists. These images look like they were captured on military equipment or some type of Navy jet. Now there are some parts that have been blacked out on the bottom and sides, and I think that's like the navigation stuff from these military aircrafts. Now why would you black that out if these are fake? They've clearly been studying and researching them for decades. We even had that UAP disclosure hearing in Congress where they said that Navy pilots were encountering these on a daily basis off the coast of California and Florida. Could these be aliens, or could they be interdimensional beings? Have they always been here? All of